This episode of Goosebumps Crew is sponsored by Stevie Wicks Candle Company, specializing in quality-made scented candles. Link in the description, but more on that later. Greetings, Goosebumps fans, young and old, big and small. Welcome back to the Goosebumps Crew Podcast. I'm your host, Isaiah Vargas, and as usual, I'm joined once again by my Goosebumps cohorts, Goosebumps Aussie fan Bjorn Panelick, Shawin, Nick Shaw, and the ultimate Goosebumps man, Michael Lilliquist. And we're really excited to be here tonight because, as you guys know, a few episodes ago, we did a episode podcast for Welcome to Camp Nightmare with Kai Eric Erickson. We are doing another episode retrospective, sort of a hodgepodge tonight. We're going to be talking about episodes like Attack of the Mutant, Welcome to Deadhouse, and The Haunted Mask 2, and we are very excited because we have a very special guest joining us. He's the guy who played the Masked Mutant, the Haunted Mask, and the Hard Hat Worker Zombie in Welcome to Deadhouse. It's Scott Wickware. Scott, thank you for joining us tonight, and welcome to the Goosebumps Crew.
My pleasure. Good to be with the good Goosebumps Crew.
We're very happy to have you here. That's awesome. Anyway, so we're very excited. We're going to be talking some Goosebumps tonight. But first, before we do, if you are not subscribed to the Goosebumps channel, what are you doing? We got 10 whole episodes of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast already out that you guys can watch. We had some incredible guests, including Tim Jacobus, Alan Doucette, Matt the Wild, Chris Zeffro, and Sam First. So if you guys have not watched the rest of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast yet, please do before you watch this one or after, whatever works for you. Just make sure you watch them all. So give us a sub over here at the Goosebumps channel, and be sure to keep an eye out for future episodes because we're going to have a lot more fun guests planned up, cooking, ready to go. As terms of Goosebumps news this week, there's only one thing, and it's kind of been a little bit of a mix-up in the Goosebumps community. Season 2 of Goosebumps on Disney Plus has been announced this past week, and a lot of people are a little skeptical because Season 1 wasn't exactly well received by Goosebumps fans. So not much info about it right now. There will be a new set of actors and a bit of more of an anthology set this time around, but as news comes out, we'll be sure to keep you guys updated. But enough talk, let's talk some Goosebumps. All right, so Scott, once again, we're happy to have you, and like I said, you were in 3 Goosebumps episodes, all playing villain roles, and very iconic villain roles, I must say, and probably your most prevalent was as the Masked Mutant in Attack of the Mutant. Very iconic stuff. But before we talk about some Goosebumps, let's get to know you a little more. So what exactly started you in acting?
Wow, we're going back quite a ways. I started, my mom gave me kudos for playing in the Commonwealth play. I played the Turk in grade 3. And basically started from then. I did plays all throughout public school, all throughout high school. Went and actually did a real job, worked for the Hudson's Bay Company for 5.5 years up in Northern Canada. And then decided I wanted to come back, went into broadcasting for a bit, and then really I didn't want to get down the road and go, man, what if? So I went to chase my dream of acting and came to Toronto, and it's worked out pretty well.
That's awesome. And you've also been in a few movies over your acting career. I know you've been in stuff like I actually found out recently you were in The Santa Claus, I believe is one of the cops and that arrests Tim Allen. And you were also in Land of the Dead, the George Romero zombie movie, which is pretty cool. But you've been in quite a few movies over your acting career. Has there been like anything that you would say was probably your favorite role?
Man, any day on set is a great day. So I wouldn't pick and choose. The Santa Claus was basically my first big one in Toronto, playing a smart-ass cop. But other than that, no, everything's been exceptional. Like I said, any day on set is a great day.
Absolutely. Well, I guess let's talk about some of your roles in Goosebumps then. So like I said, probably your most prevalent role was as the Masked Mutant in Attack the Mutant. And for those of you who have not seen that episode, that's about a kid who's really obsessed with comic books, and one day his favorite comic book supervillain, the Masked Mutant, he starts seeing his headquarters downtown, and he starts seeing all this stuff with the Masked Mutant, and he thinks the Masked Mutant is stalking him, and then eventually he has a face-to-face encounter. Now, the Masked Mutant is one of the most iconic Goosebumps villains, in our personal opinion. What was it like getting involved with that character?
I got to tell you, all my time on the Goosebumps sets was exceptional. The whole deal with being on those sets and doing the work, it's probably the most fun I've had on sets doing this business.
Absolutely, and that was a pretty interesting episode too. I believe that was actually the first episode to come out that had you in a role. And you actually got to be alongside Adam West for that episode. What was it like getting to work with good old Adam West?
It was great. We didn't have we didn't do we had just basically the one scene where I mutated into the snake, but he was a great guy. I think when I was watching your guys' podcast before, and it was mentioned by you guys were up in the air about he wanted his suit, and that is absolutely true.
Yep.
He kept the suit. I didn't get to keep mine. Ron Stefaniak has all that stuff. But and we were kidding them, going, well, does he have a closet full of Batman and everything that he's ever done? So anyway, he's got the Galloping Gazelle somewhere in his closet. God love him.
Yeah.
But he's a great guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a shame you didn't get to keep it. That's a shame.
that?
They should have let you keep something, even the belt or the cape, just anything. They should have let you keep one piece of it.
No, that's all. It's all the studios, they own all that stuff. So, and that's okay.
Yeah. But
When
it would have been nice.
The set and we had Matt DeWild on, they talked about how Ron made sure in his contract with them that anything he made, they paid him to make it, but then they also were only renting it from him. So everything he got to keep for the most part. Because Alan Doucette, I don't know if you remember him or not, but he was on our podcast recently and he showed us some props and things like that that he was able to keep for himself. But, it's funny because we did ask Kai and stuff. It's but it doesn't seem like anybody gets to keep anything. With the exception of Kai, he said he kept socks.
He kept socks. He did keep socks.
Yeah, that's an easy one. He probably just kept his socks on at the end of the day and just didn't switch them. He probably thought, they won't notice if I keep the socks and put my.
Or maybe
shoes on,
he put his normal socks on top of the other socks, and so he's wearing two socks.
It was a little tough to walk out with the Masked Mutant suit.
I can imagine. Yeah. It's but it's a really cool looking suit. I mean, even that mask was it's incredible. I love that scene though.
Did they give you any maybe merchandise or anything? Because Kai actually mentioned he got given a Goosebumps backpack. Did they give you anything maybe Goosebumps related, like a piece of merchandise?
No.
No.
Cheap bastards.
Come on, boys. Give me a paycheck. Come on.
Dang, you're in 3 episodes too. They should have given you something.
You would think, eh? I could go back for them.
Yeah. Those cheap bastards.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, no, I love that scene though where Adam West is sitting in the chair, but it's you. It's you mutate into the chair, and then you have the snake, and he's just "There's a snake in my face." Adam West was always the best at saying goofy stuff like that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, but that was we're not too crazy about the whole Attack the Mutant episode, but I will say that you were probably the absolute hands down best part of the whole episode. You had such great energy as that character.
Well, I like I said, I reviewed all your podcasts, and I saw you guys busting their hump about that it should have been just one episode and two, and I agree with you, because there wasn't a lot of there was some suspense in the first episode, but and the other thing about it, as compared to the other episodes of Goosebumps, I don't think it was as scary for kids as some of the episodes. Not even close. It was more comic book cartoonish than the other episodes, but it was a lot of fun, because there was nothing too big, nothing, like there was never anybody saying, could you bring that down a bit? Yeah, that's a bit too much. But so it was just like gloves off, let her go, and just let her rip and have some fun.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the fact, and I actually I don't remember if I brought that up in the actual episode where we talked about this. But yeah, that's the thing about the episode. It's not super scary, and you would think that for a show like Goosebumps that you could take a concept like a supervillain coming after you and make it scary. We mentioned in a previous episode an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, which has a very similar premise, called The Ghastly Grinner. And that's also about an episode about a comic book villain that comes to the real world, and I feel like that did the whole scary angle of it very well. So that's one of the reasons why we're not too crazy about the episode. It's not horrible. It's just, when you do a scary show, you want it to be scary, even if it's for kids. Scare the kids.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. What was now, let me know, what ages were you guys when you were watching Goosebumps?
Ooh, well, I didn't grow up with it. I think Nick was the only one that was around when the show actually was premiering.
I was the only one who grew up actually in the 90s, so we make the running joke that I'm the old man of this podcast. So, I was 10 when the show started, and I want to say I might have been 11 when the Masked Mutant came out. But of course, as a kid, you look at shows differently. So, at the time, there was no bad Goosebumps episodes to me, because they were all fantastic when you're 10, 11 years old. But when you're older and you can look at things, you do kind of like, have more favorites than not. But for me, since I grew up in that era, I like the Masked Mutant for what it was, because I watched the Adam West 66 and it was very similar in that aspect. I mean, even if he wasn't in it, it still would have had that kookiness and that over-the-top villain, and I thought it was good. It was just like your performance is really what sold everything to that episode.
Honestly, so, I would have liked to see more of it. I wish the whole episode was just about that.
Well, maybe we can do a writing campaign for the second season of what they're doing right now. Bring back the mutant. Bring back the mutant.
Bring back the mutant. Bring back the mutant.
Yeah,
let's get a hashtag going right now. For those of you watching, start a hashtag. Bring back the Masked Mutant.
Yes.
Let's do a GoFundMe page for over $9,000. No, but that's like, you definitely want to lean into the camp value, especially in a situation like that. And that's a good point. It actually is very reminiscent of like a 60s Batman. Even the Masked Mutant himself is very much like something you'd see on the Adam West Batman show. And I think that's why it's so good. But again, it's like, I wish the whole episode was about that instead of walking around a boring, gloomy drag town or something like that. I mean, that's what most of the episode is.
Yeah, the lead up was I think there could have been a little more suspense but when we got into it with when Adam West showed up, the Galloping Gazelle, and then so it was campy, and it was expected, because I mean, it was somewhat of a spoof on what he did in Batman with the pow, bang, boom, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I love the best.
What's that?
How could you not want to do that when you've got Adam West?
Absolutely.
You're like, we got to play on this a little bit.
No, absolutely. Yeah. You got the man right there. Why wouldn't you do something? And he was full on, absolutely obviously because he signed on, but he was fully into it, and a great guy, great gentleman.
Absolutely. I just love it's always so funny too, because you have the superhero and he's like built up. He's like, you gotta save me. We're gonna save the world. And then he I think he trips once when trying to do his power, and he's just like, all right, I'm out of here. Even the kid's just like, where are you going?
The League of Good Guys. Come on.
For the League of Scared Guys.
It was all the budget could afford for him.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like, the check bounced out of here.
Can I keep the suit? Yes, you can.
Yep.
Yeah. You got an action figure. You did get an action figure, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that is pretty neat.
Wow.
Yeah. No, there's
Very rare.
it's a pretty rare figure. But you got one.
Yeah, the Series 2 collectible. She's a beaut, this one, definitely. So I thought I'd better bring it out for this one.
Nicely done.
And
Wow.
yeah, and then it wasn't until the end, I think it was right after Adam officially leaves, that you become the star of the show again. And that's when you tell Skipper, the main character, that he's a comic book character now. That he's no longer human. He is now a full comic book character. And my favorite line in the whole episode is he just points up at you and you're like, you're a liar. And you're like, yes, I'm a liar. Best line the whole episode. Love that line so much. No, that's the best part of the whole episode is just you and that set. I will say, I don't think I mentioned this, but that set, the Masked Mutant's lair, is super colorful and man, it just pops. I don't think there's really any Goosebumps episode that has a set that just looks so vibrant. And I mean, that's just a testament to the brilliant people who worked in the set design on that show and the props. Shout out to you, Alan.
It was shot in the O'Hearn generating plant in Toronto on the lakefront, which is it's obviously not working anymore. But an interesting, what a great set. You're absolutely right, and it looked like a comic book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it did. The way they lit everything, the way they shot everything, it really did. Everything.
Yeah, there should be a comic book for the Masked Mutant. They've done so many Goosebumps graphic novels now, but I'm surprised that the one that has never had a comic book is Attack of the Mutant. It just seems so fitting for them to actually do it. So IDW, if you're listening, there should be an Attack of the Mutant comic book.
A Masked Mutant comic book.
Or just a Goosebumps graphics adaptation of it. Or just adapting the book straight up.
Something. Give us something, please.
Bring the Masked Mutant down to Comic-Con or whatever. Sign autographs.
Yes. That'd be awesome. They should get a big budget movie of the Masked Mutant, like how they do for Marvel now. When are they gonna add the Masked Mutant to the MCU? Have Samuel L. Jackson come out and say, I want to talk to you.
I mean, Disney owns the rights to Goosebumps now, so...
Oh.
Kind of, I guess.
The cards are on the table.
Disney just
multiverse. It could happen.
It could happen. But, I don't know. Do you guys get any questions about Masked Mutant? Because I'm about ready to talk about the Haunted Mask.
Yeah.
Haunted Mask.
Thankfully, I was going to ask you to do it, but I didn't even have to. You're so great, you just went ahead and went into character for it. Because I love the Masked Mutant's laugh. How did you come up with that? Is that something you practice in a mirror? Did they just tell you go absolutely crazy with it? Just go nuts.
A lot of time in the bathroom.
Just feel like, what are you doing in there?
Is it that funny?
Is it that funny?
The crew probably genuinely thought you were going insane.
It was like, all right.
All right, he's lost it.
He's lost his mind.
Well, I didn't say a porta potty. I said a bathroom.
Oh, no.
Like I said, right from the original audition, and it was go big or go home. So it was totally here we go, and it just seemed seemed to fit that this guy would be totally maniacal.
Absolutely.
Did they show you like any photos or anything when you did the audition part to see what the character was going to look like?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So you were just basing it off of like nothing. You made it up yourself kind of a deal. Like you didn't have to look at a costume or nothing. See a backstory. You just were
just right into it.
Wow. Yeah. Go big or go home.
Yep, and I'm always curious too because by this point, I believe this was '96 when this episode premiered. I know it probably takes a few months beforehand to shoot and edit an episode. Were you familiar with Goosebumps before hopping onto the show, or like did you know about it, or really? Wow.
No.
I'm curious. Oh, I'm always curious because some people go into it knowing about it and some don't. So it's always interesting to figure it out who knew and who didn't.
It is interesting because like Kai didn't really know much about it. Alan didn't really know much about it. It's actually interesting. So I think the TV show was what really made Goosebumps a bigger thing.
I'm thinking so too. It might have been.
Yeah.
It might have been. So we'll get back to more Masked Mutant, but I want to move on really quick to another role you did in another. I actually realized you were in all the episodes you were in were 2-parters or hour-long episodes, and the other one you were in was The Haunted Mask 2 as the Haunted Mask. And that is a great episode. I mean, we talked about that episode on the podcast, and I mean, Haunted Mask 1. Phenomenal. That is hands down the best episode of the whole show. Haunted Mask 2 is a very good sequel, and that's the one where the Haunted Mask itself is a villain of its own. It overtakes the shopkeeper, and then it's walking around in the dark cloak, and it's like got the really like scary voice, and he's like, "You must find Carly Beth." Yo, that was a great performance. I mean, that is like sinister. If that thing came up to me at night, I'd be shitting bricks. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Yeah, but great performance. So did they call you back to do another episode, or did you audition for that one?
No, auditioned again for that, and the good thing is each episode that I was in, it was the same director, William Fruitt, and great guy, iconic Canadian director, done a lot of great stuff, and a really good guy. And the thing that works in a relationship like that is if he's comfortable with and he knows that you can get the job done, because as your other guests were saying, this is fairly low budget and everything, and because it was shot in film, man, and you had to go, and it had to be like, we need to get this done right now, and it needs to be done within 1 to 2 takes. There's no, we'll do another one. We'll do another one. No, that wasn't going to happen. So, but the whole crew, everybody was so supportive, and you don't always get that on every set, but everybody was going one direction, and I think you see it in the end result of all the Goosebumps episodes. They're really well done. Absolutely. Well, and there's a lot of episodes where, and yeah, it is a low budget show, and sometimes there could be some episodes where you do see the budget, but there's some, especially in the earlier seasons, where they really make use of like not showing that this is low budget TV, and I feel like even like for special effects wise, I mean, like Ron Stefanik was an amazing prosthetic sculptor. I mean, even down to the mask. The mask itself is just incredible, and it can work as an actual face or just a regular mask. That was the amazing thing about it. But and especially like setting and mood. I mean, we talked about the setting in Attack of the Mutant, but and the Haunted Mask 2, especially in that graveyard. Like with the ending of the episode in that graveyard is such an amazing, especially for a Halloween episode, is just an amazing place to have a climax. But in terms of the Haunted Mask character, that's who you played in the episode, and it's just such a sinister role. You're just like,
it's almost like the devil is following, because Steve is the character in this one, and he's got the old man mask on, and you have complete control over him. So you're showing up and you're being like, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna make you suffer. Like, I'm gonna like make your tongue rot out of your mouth. It got pretty dang graphic.
Fill you with spiders and things like that. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna fill you with spiders.
Yeah.
It truly freaked me out, this episode. As a kid, this one truly freaked me out. The one shot I remember specifically giving me nightmares was as soon as the mask finally takes over the shopkeeper, like right in the beginning, and as soon as he sort of turns and just looks off the camera, and just the music and his face and the sound, like the scream, like, oh, that just, as a kid, that freaked me out so much, that particular shot. And oh man, I still get goosebumps literally when I
we said it. Ding 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 ding.
Yes.
We need to. It needs to be like a Pee Wee Herman, the word of the day. And I was like,
I don't think we've ever said that on the channel before. That's like the first time I think I've actually said. It gave me goosebumps. So here we go.
Yeah.
It had to be said.
No. And let's talk a little bit about that episode. Because I don't think we really like went into detail about the Haunted Mask 2, because so obviously I believe that was the first. Was that the first sequel episode? I think that was the first episode that was a direct sequel to a past one. I think so.
I think so, actually.
Yeah.
And before Dummy 3, so
it was before Dummy 3. So yes, this was the first sequel episode, based off the sequel book. And this one has a different main character, and it's a little stylistically different than the first one. The first one's a lot quieter. It's a lot more psychological. This one definitely has a lot more of that monster feeling to it, especially like the physical changes that Steve goes through, because the old man mask, it not only makes you like evil in a sense, it actually turns you old, and he's like suffering. This poor kid is suffering this whole episode. And then you have the external threat of the mask, so it feels like there's a lot more tension in this one, because there's someone who's out to get you, who's actually going to like come after you, which wasn't really present a little bit. I get the ending with the floating mask was kind of like that, but you get what I'm saying. So basically, this episode has a lot more of that tense feeling, and it's a really good one to watch at Halloween. I always make it a plan to watch both these episodes back to back, because they just got that great spooky fall Halloween feel to it, and that's one I really like. But what was your favorite scene to film from any of these episodes? I might as well ask.
Like, so we're talking all three that I was in?
I would say all three. Yeah. What was your favorite scene?
Oh man, I still got to go back to the mutant. Just the whole deal. Like I said, you could just go wild. There was nothing that you couldn't like. There was no top. Basically, it was like, and it was. If anything, you say, yeah, make it bigger. Yeah, make it nastier. Make it more evil. Mm-hmm. So, but one of the things that Ron, what a genius. And have you guys searched him out, or do you know anything of like where he is or what he's doing?
We've tried to get in contact, but we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, I've done some research on it, and I've looked, and even Matt and Alan, who were in contact with him for a long time, have nothing on him now. The only thing I found is a Facebook page, and I've reached out to it, but he's not responded.
Okay.
But I've heard that his studio moved, but nobody knows where.
Yeah. Okay. Because one of the things he gave me kudos for, and was that he could only produce like the masks or the mutant suit, but it was the actor that had to make it real. And he always said, man, I just love the fact that you bring life to what I've produced. And with the mask, I had to, because the mouth was so closed, and it would just go basically like that. Whenever I just move it so that the teeth would come across, but it was like getting the chin to get the bottom of the mask to get it to the thing, because a lot of the time it just looked like you were speaking out of a mask, but I actually got it so that at least it looked like the lips were moving a bit. But
sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was gonna say, like, that's one of the noticeable differences between the Haunted Mask 1 and 2, because like the Haunted Mask is my absolutely favorite episode, book, everything, and then 2 is very close to that. So you notice when Catherine Long has the mask on and she's talking, that doesn't move hardly like at all.
Yeah.
It's only when she screams, because her mouth is so exaggerated,
Exactly.
that it actually makes a separation. But your character in the Haunted Mask 2, you could see when you were talking. And
Right.
I'm kind of wondering if that had to be because you were doing more exaggerated with your mouth and kind of speaking, or if they just were able to do a better prosthetic job at that point as far as like what the mask could do with your face. Because obviously from the Masked Mutant to the Haunted Mask, there's a huge difference there with how your facial expressions could be seen and done with the Masked Mutant, but not with the Haunted Mask, because they had like the blackout over your eyes, so we couldn't do anything with your eyes. Your mouth obviously like covered completely. So I was kind of curious, how hard was it to actually act out what you wanted through the Haunted Mask compared to the Masked Mutant?
It's a different deal, because like you say, you were really limited in what you. So basically, it was voice expression, but also you had to realize that you had to keep doing it, and also, the thing was, it was tough to see out of that thing, and for anybody that's, I'm not claustrophobic, so it wasn't a problem. And the funny thing was, a lot of times when my scenes weren't up, the people, they were sweethearts, they'd come over and say, but they had glued it right around the neck so that it wouldn't come off. And they said, do you want to take the mask off? And I said, no. So I sat the whole day with the mask on while it was there. Not a problem. But,
Somebody comes up to you and be like, do you want like some water or something? You got the mask on. I'm like, no, I'm fine. I'm good. No.
Oh yeah, swig water in front of me now, buddy.
But that's the thing too, because there are differences between the Mask and the Masked Mutant. I just realized those have two very similar names. The Masked Mutant is more maniacal. He's like bouncing up and down. He's like just like up in people's faces, and he's just like running, and it's like it's so crazy and maniacal. And then you have again, I'm getting them mixed up. Then you have the Haunted Mask, who is much more stoic. He's standing still, and like when he needs to move, it's like instantaneous. Like when he needs to talk to someone over here, he'll start, and then he'll just be like, just like, holy moly. But so it's like, it's stoic but powerful. Both are just like, both are scary in their own ways, because one is like very maniacal and very crazy and unexpected, and then the other one is very much like, this guy seems very much in control, I don't want to cross him.
Oh yes.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yep. And one thing I just love about the mask too, and I'm glad you brought up the mouth, because it looks more lively. It looks like, even though it's on someone's head, it looks like the mask is fully alive. And when it just like opens and it just like it just makes those inhuman noises, but then it can also like speak like a person, and it just, the way you voiced it was just like so booming and just like, oh, I can't even put it into words. It's just like so creepy and eerie. And you got like, again, in like
what you want your kids to be watching.
Hey, it's what we watched as kids. We were the weirdo kids in school watching Goosebumps. No, it was so good. And then when we got to Welcome to Dead House.
Welcome to Dead House.
Now this one is an amazing special. I think it was the second to last one that aired in primetime. and this was the zombie episode. Like, this was based off the first book, but this was like, every TV show has a zombie episode. This was the zombie episode. And you played one of the zombies in the town, and this person didn't appear until later, but it leaves quite an impact. You're the hard hat worker. And I think the first scene that you're in is when they're all in the graveyard, so the kids are looking for their dog, and all the town is in the graveyard, and they're just like, we can't wait anymore, we gotta go eat them right now.
I need to eat.
He's like, look at me, I need to eat now, I don't have time.
I need to eat now.
You're just like constantly yelling at the mayor. The mayor's trying to like make it like calm everyone down. They're just like, there ain't no time for waiting, mayor.
That freaked me out as a kid.
That was called
genuinely scary.
Yep.
What's that?
That was genuinely scary as a kid, like that episode. Like, it was frightening. You know, like there was just some shots in there, like imagery that was just like, it really got down, like it gave you chills, you know, like that episode is like a personal favorite of mine. And oh man, and hard hat work, I just got to say the name. I love the name, hard hat work. I was like, we may just put like construction worker because that's what he looks like. But oh man, I just think it's so unique. And yeah, your character in particular really freaked me out, especially when you break through the freaking wall.
You break through the wall.
Like, no more speeches, Mayor. I'm starving. I was like, whoa.
He's like, I'm starving.
I got a good story about the break through the wall. So
did they actually let you do that?
What's that? Yeah.
Did they actually let you do that?
I asked the guy. I said, how tough is it? This, is it? He said, no problem. He said, you'll be able to punch through that, no problem. I went, okay. So when they said action, and I punched and nothing happened, it just sat there. So when you see a little delay, and all of a sudden I just smoked it and crunched it through. But it was not something that was like, oh, paper. It was like, wow, I had to punch my way through that thing. But I was hungry.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, that hunger is going to prevail in all cases.
Wow.
Well, it's funny too, because about like 2 minutes later, there's another zombie that breaks through like a closet door, and that one is way easier. They just like burst through that one. And it's like, no, you really had to fight for that one.
Whoa.
It
was the Masked Mutant coming out.
What's that?
It was the Masked Mutant coming out of you, like, I can do this. I won't.
What if it was? What if the Masked Mutant just had a cameo? I'm not supposed to be in this episode.
Just coming out of the bathroom.
Oh, sorry. Is this Studio D?
Knock this out later.
Wouldn't that be awesome if there was just like Goosebumps bloopers and that like, stuff like that just happened? Like how, I don't know, I just think of like how the movies used to have like during the credits like a blooper reel, and then once there would be one where a character that's not supposed to be there is there. I think there was one like getting off topic, there was a scene from X-Men or like X-Men 2, and they had a deleted scene where they're running through a hall and all of a sudden Spider-Man's coming through and he's like, oh crap, I'm in the wrong movie.
But it makes me think more of like Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
That scene where they're just crossing films, it's like, oh yeah.
Yep. I was like, oh, sorry. Passing through. But that's a great episode.
I got one a quick story about actually I'm my better half was also in Welcome to Dead House. She played the next door neighbor. If you want, I can call her down and get her on here if you want.
Sure, let's have it. Let's say hello.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Mairlyn, come here for a second, please. Ah!
The Masked Mutant came out there for a second.
Oh, wow. This is great.
So,
it's just so impressive. We can just flip a switch and go right back into it.
This is probably the most amount of time I've laughed in a podcast episode.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
Oh, we're having a great time. Hello, good to meet you. He's
This is
been
Mairlyn Smith played the next. What was your character's name?
Oh, Mrs. Thornton. It's not Thurston. Thurston.
These guys.
Oh, you were Mrs. Thurston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't even know that. That's incredible.
Oh,
Got it together. Did he tell the story about?
No,
Okay.
I haven't.
You haven't told that
No,
story?
I'd love you to tell it.
No,
What-
really?
what's-
Okay, so we very rarely get to work together as a couple. So
She's
and
too short.
yeah, it's seriously true. Anyway, and so
Way more beautiful.
well, that's true too. Anyway, so our son was really afraid of scary stuff, and so we thought, well, if we took him to a Goosebumps shoot, like he wouldn't be scared. So Scott was, we were both in Welcome to Dead House, and so Scott was up in Serena Gundy Park in Toronto, and we thought, well, we'll just take him into the forest. You know, he'll see Scott, and you know what he looked like. He was rotting and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so Andrew, oh yeah, that's Scott. And he was fine. You know, he kind of warmed up to it and stuff. And then the director goes, okay, cue all the other zombies. And then they all stood up out of the bush. And he went insane. And he went screaming.
We got
Awful. And I followed him. I was laughing my head off, which was really bad mother stuff. But anyway, we got into the parking lot. Goes, Mom, that was awful. You're the worst mother in the world. He's 7 years old, right? So anyway, we go, oh dear, that really backfired. So a couple of days later, they were doing that interior shot when myself and my husband were sitting in the house where the wreath was.
Yep.
So I wasn't rotting very much. I was just really pale. And so Scott brought Andrew to the set, and he was like, oh, that's Mom, and she's not all that scary. So he was really good. And he goes, I want to have a Welcome to Dead House birthday party. So he invited all his little friends, and I made a Welcome to Dead House cake, and then they watched the video, and they were like they weren't scared of me, but they were like looking at Scott and looking at the TV and looking at Scott and looking at the TV. And they were all terrified. And that night, the next day, I got a phone call like, thanks for scaring the living heck out of my kid. He's now scared of Scott. You know, so,
And he's in therapy right now. He's 34. He's in therapy.
Oh, I guess it stuck with him. I just like that, just looking at the TV and looking back to Scott, and then he looks again, and Scott's looking up like.
Looks way better.
You know, we scared the heck out of everybody. It's awful. Andrew was the only one that wasn't afraid. But anyway, so we never did another scary party again. And the next year they went and played hockey. So that was the end of watching.
This guy cried when balloons were broken at his birthday
No,
party.
he was a bit scared of stuff when he was little. But anyway, after the Goosebumps thing, he wasn't just, he wasn't afraid anymore. It's just the time in the park. So we did desensitize him. Sort of. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, we were
so,
talking just a minute ago about how this episode was like really scary. It can be really scary at times, and I remember myself. I mean, zombies were always like a scary thing for me, and something about how this episode was shot, especially the end, was. I mean, just the idea of having a bunch of zombies or not. I mean, having a bunch of people breaking into your house is really creepy.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
we watched it again last night, and I was like, well, I can't believe we let 7-year-olds watch this movie.
this was before The Walking Dead.
Just because we were in it.
We're paying for his therapy.
No. I mean, like, it was so bad.
Oh, Goosebumps, sending kids to therapy since 1993.
And Are You Afraid of the Dark? They gotta have like a therapy like for just children's horror related incidents.
There we go. How old were you guys? I guess that was like 1997 or something. How old were you guys in 1997?
I was -4. I wasn't born till 01.
I was not born yet.
Nick, our buddy with the he's got the 2 photos in front of him. He was the only one that was around when Goosebumps was on the air.
Yeah, I was in '97. I was 12. So
Okay,
I was 2. I was 4.
Wow.
I was 2.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how old we were, but anyway, I've got a Polaroid from the Welcome to Dead House. I'm going to go get it. I'll be right back.
Oh, awesome. That'd be
Absolutely.
great.
That's awesome. I had no idea she was Mrs. Thurston. Like, that's actually like one of the main characters in the episode. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And
What a bonus!
I know, like, hey,
Super.
makes for a nice addition in the description.
Yeah.
But no, it just like Welcome to Dead House is just one of the. I think I remember the first time I saw it, or at least saw a part of it, was, and I brought this up in past episodes, but when Cartoon Network in the late 2000s reran Goosebumps, it was part of like their Halloween block. This was one of the episodes that they like showed in a promo, and it was like one of those 80s grindhouse style things where it's like you got like the guy's like, "Welcome to Dead House, Goosebumps special," and it's you got all the scenes of like the zombies breaking down the doors, and that scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Oh, it did.
In a town called Dark Falls.
There you go. There's
Oh, that's
Oh, wow, that's so
awesome!
cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's
I
amazing!
love that photo.
we
That's
got
great. Thank you for sharing that.
we got in a lot of trouble on the set because we were acting like idiots. Like we you know, it was like a 12-hour. I don't know. We've been there a really long time, and we were doing stupid stuff like telling jokes that had no punch lines, and we would laugh, and everybody's like, I think they're supposed to be funny, so they would laugh too. And it was like, they're not funny. Seriously, we're just being.
Well, I guess I wouldn't be well accepted on a set then.
We got in trouble. We finally got the ADs like, were you guys smart enough? You know, like it was on that stair scene at the very end when everyone was going up the stairs, and Scott was way ahead of me above, and I was down below, and he kept throwing stuff at me, and like when they were like taking the break, it's like, Scott's throwing stuff at
What a
me,
rat.
you know, like,
Never go to prison with him.
Oh,
Just like, here, catch
that was an
this.
intense scene. That was a very
This
intense
is
scene.
where I
Going
can
on
like
stage.
totally see more Masked Mutant coming out of that moment, like throwing stuff down, and then you just
It's like Scott. It's like Scott's like second personality. It just comes out every once in a while.
Hey,
oh, I know about that.
No.
I gotta go. I don't want to hog you guys anyway, but thanks. Yeah,
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. It was great to meet you.
yeah, no, absolutely. I appreciate you coming on here and talking with
Well,
us.
he was screaming at me. I thought something hideous had happened.
Just Goosebumps nerd speaking out.
Oh, yeah.
sorry.
That's incredible. No problem. Well, we're going to continue our Goosebumps
that was
discussion
awesome.
in just a second. But first, if you guys love what we do here at the Goosebumps Crew Podcast, please be sure to not only follow us at the Goosebumps channel on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course follow my Goosebumps cohorts, Nick, Bjorn, and Micah. But also be sure to check out the RRT Media Podcast Network. A lot of like-minded people host podcasts as part of RRT, from pop culture to cartoons to music, whatever you name it. They really do deserve the support, so please go check out rrtmedia.org if you want to listen to some more podcasts just like ours. But before then, we get back to our Goosebumps discussion, we have a word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Stevie Wicks Candle Company. It's a well-known fact that everyone loves a good-smelling candle every now and then. Stevie Wicks has you covered, as they specialize in quality-made scented candles. Not only do they have a large array of scents to choose from, but because Stevie Wicks candles are made from biodegradable soy-based wax, their candles burn slower and last longer. And if that wasn't enough, Stevie Wicks not only sells single and 3-wick candles, but they even sell jewelry, making Stevie Wicks a great place to get gifts for someone you know. And their monthly subscription boxes make for a gift that keeps on giving all year long. If you're a fan of Goosebumps like we are and are in the mood for some spooky smelling scents, they also have a selection for those who dabble in the supernatural, including Dragon's Blood, Witch's Brew, and Candy Corn. And Goosebumps Crew listeners have access to a very special deal. If you sign up for Stevie Wicks' monthly subscription box and use promo code LISTENERBEWARE at checkout, not only will you get 10% off your first month, but Stevie Wicks will make sure your box is filled with Halloween-themed scents, no matter the time of year. But wait, there's more. If you use promo code HAUNTED20 when purchasing your first subscription box, you'll get 20% off your first month. Or if you just want to snag something specific for yourself or a friend, you can use promo code SLAPPY10 to get 10% off any order. So what are you waiting for? Go to StevieWicks.com or click the link in the description to go snag yourself some quality made candles and snag some deals with our special Goosebumps promo codes. And of course, thanks to Stevie Wicks Candle Company for sponsoring this episode. And now, back to more Goosebumps.
I'll show you this, boys. It was the original, the guy who was doing the comic book printed these off for me.
Oh, wow. That's really
cool.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Wow. That is incredible. I love that. That's great.
Signed by the minute.
Cool.
That is
That
awesome.
is so cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's another thing about the episode. It had really cool comic drawings, especially at the beginning, where they have you and Adam were voicing them, and then you had like the drawings, and it's like I think you turn into like a squid or something, or like an octopus.
Yes.
That was really cool. Another thing, I don't know if I mentioned, I'm kind of starting to realize we didn't really talk much about the episode in detail, but the scene where the comic, like it's the Masked Mutant on the comic, and then it just starts slowly like coming out of the book is a really good effect. That was a really well done effect.
I was literally just about to say that scene is probably the one that stuck with me the most from that episode. Giving me very Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, like from the original, where Freddy's like pressing out from the wall above Nancy.
Yeah.
Like that. I wonder if that was accomplished by the same effect.
Probably. It seems
that.
like it, like almost like a plaster sheet or something like that.
That was, I think, in Nightmare it was spandex. I'm not sure if that's what it was for Attack of the Mutant, but
yeah, they
it
probably
was like the same kind of effect. So
probably found something.
Yeah, I totally get the connection of Freddy Krueger and Masked Mutant. They have a lot of similarities. Both have really like creepy but awesome laughs. I mean, they both like to toy with their opponent, you know, and they for some reason they like boiler room / warehouses. So it's that creepy atmosphere, I guess.
That's where the bad stuff happens.
Oh yeah. Out of the three characters that you played in Goosebumps, what was probably the most like difficult one, like character to get into? Did you find one to be a little more difficult than one of the others?
Well, the biggest challenge was the haunted mask, because there's you're limited. It's basically voice and just trying to do some movement, because there's no face. So you're limited as an actor. You can't, and also a lot of stuff comes from eyes. Like in the Masked Mutant, at least the mask was open with the eyes, so that, you know, you get the that sort of stuff. But so that was probably the most challenging, to get that to be somewhat lifelike, real. And like I said, I worked on that mask because it was tight, so you just had to do that whole.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was probably a little hard to like really sound that menacing when you're going like
Well, again, if you spend that much time in the bathroom, it's not a problem.
I'm curious, like with the haunted masks lines that you did, were like when did you actually like record those lines on set, or were most of those ADR'd and then edited in?
No, they were right on set, bud.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
The thing is that watching the episodes and you see the effects that they were able to do back in the day, they still work. Even though today's people, you know, probably go with CGI and everything, they're not even close, but they still get the point across. They still work, and I think, you know, on that budget, they were extremely good. Like I said, the whole experience with the crew, the producers, everybody involved was tremendous.
Absolutely, and it just seems like a ton of fun to be on that show. I mean, like it just
there really
like...
hasn't been anybody we've had on, and as you know, you said you've watched, but nobody's had one bad instance where like, oh, it was absolutely terrible, hated every moment. Alan even said of all the stuff he's done, and he's done quite a bit of stuff. I mean, he's even, like you said, that was easily the best time in his life working on that show, despite all the crazy hours.
Exactly, and it's unusual because usually there's problems on most shoots, and there's difficulties, but it seemed like everybody was pointed in the right direction and trying to get the best result possible, and that comes from the top down. And there's a feeling of everybody doing their absolute best, and it, like I said, it's got to be bang, bang, bang. There's no fooling around because you're on a strict budget and strict timeline. But it was a tremendous amount of fun.
I can imagine.
Did you pick up any of the Goosebumps books after being in the episodes? Did it make you want to pick up any Goosebumps books to read them?
Yeah, well, of course, the Revenge of the Masked Mutant. Somebody gifted, one of my hockey buddies gifted me that. But no, I haven't read the whole thing. So I should pick it up because as far as everybody that I've told, they are really good. Mm-hmm. Like they're a great read, and especially for adults and kids, but. For kids, and we've got a grandkid coming. What is it, next month? So I'm definitely looking at presents for her.
Goosebumps books are amazing for kids. I mean, for me, I didn't read a whole lot of chapter books when I was growing up. And it wasn't until I was about to go into third grade that I first discovered like the Goosebumps books. And once I read one, I was reading like book after book after book after book. My teachers were like, holy cow, who flipped the switch on this kid? He went from reading no books to like 15 books in a month. So, I mean, they were a great gateway drug to reading and to the horror genre.
Definitely.
And
oh man, you can get kids to read anything. Like it doesn't matter, but especially if when I'm going to date myself. When I was growing up, we had the Hardy Boys, and it was the next best thing to go and get the next Hardy Boy. Go get the next Hardy Boy, and they were easy reads but really exciting.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot like Goosebumps. They were easy reads, and you had to get them all. There were so many coming out in the '90s that you just had to get them all. It was like Pokemon. Got to catch them all.
Pretty much. And some kids didn't even. I know a lot of kids that didn't even read Goosebumps. They just wanted to collect them for the covers. What Tim Jacobus did for Goosebumps is just unbelievable. He was a master. You know what I mean? And he's such a great guy. We had him on the podcast, and we always say he's one of the true heroes of Goosebumps.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah,
no,
absolutely. What a talent.
It's also funny too because I actually believe that the Masked Mutant costume is pretty similar to the one it is on the book. I think it's not open sleeves, but it looks pretty true for the most part.
Yeah, they did a good job adapting that.
Yeah, it was.
Tower.
Yeah.
And that's kudos again to Ron.
Yep. No, when they can bring those illustrations to life, that was a true treat. It was like watching the illustrations come to life. So that was always a treat.
That was one of the ideas I had for a Goosebumps sequel. I always imagined what if when they did the movies, the first book that came out of the books from the ink. What if in the sequel, at the Scholastic headquarters, they all start leaping out of the original artworks. And they have to find Tim this time, not R.L. Stein, Tim, to try and trap them back in by painting a new piece where they're all on it or something. I had this really cool idea. But
it's going to take them a few days.
Interesting concept.
It's going to take them a few days.
Yeah.
That's why I said until, Chicken comes out of the dark and... Good Lord. That might be the most terrifying thing in all of Goosebumps that anyone will see.
Chicken.
Oh, yeah. Still the best cover art ever made.
He's back!
Best book ever made.
Okay, I've been really upset that we let him watch that movie when he was 7. It couldn't have been because it didn't come out on VHS until like what 3-4 years later, and so he would have been older. So I think maybe he was 9 or 10. I feel so much better. But really scared the hell out of everybody.
Yeah.
Still traumatized, but
1998 on my VHS.
Yeah.
But it might have been different in the US than it was in the UK and then in Australia.
Yeah.
So Welcome to Dead House in the US didn't come
turned out really well for somebody who was raised by 2 actors. Okay, goodbye.
That's great. Going back to Welcome to Dead House, by the way, I mean, that's just a really, again, it's just a really well done episode. And one scene I remember, it's funny because, again, I mean, your character isn't really in the episode until the end when the whole town gets involved, and yet you have so many scenes where you're like the frontliner, you're like getting all up in the camera. And there's one where they're like they run through the graveyard gates, so like they got the whole town chasing them now, and it's really tense because instead of like one thing, you have like dozens and dozens of undead, and they can run too. Like this was before like the Dawn of the Dead remake where they introduced running zombies. It's like, oh shit. They can run. Oh god.
But changed the game when they did that. It changed the game.
And there's a scene where you grab Amanda's like pant leg and you like get, and you're just like, ah. It's like, oh, that's scary.
Good human leg, baby.
Yep.
Human leg.
But it's like, man, that's scary. It's like, that's terrifying. And yeah, just breaking through walls and stuff like that. It's just, it's so funny. Yeah, if you were there, oh man, that's creepy.
So, that makes me think, like when your kid was younger, and he had friends over, did you do any of that while they were there?
Break through walls?
Okay.
I was in the bathroom doing laughs.
It's like maybe we should go to your house next time.
It worked out well because you have one of the best ones in all of Goosebumps. That evil laugh.
That's most memorable.
Oh, it's so
I always
good.
found the most memorable laughs in Goosebumps to be like the Masked Mutant, the Haunted Mask, and obviously Slappy, of course, has one of the most memorable laughs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I have a question. Have you, you guys said that you rewatched Welcome to Dead House, so I guess my question was going to be, have you rewatched any of these episodes recently? And what do you think of them?
You asking me or your
Yes.
buddies? Yeah, I did my research. Like I watched all of your shows, and then I had to, and I was afraid that I wasn't gonna, but they're on YouTube. Like the tough thing is you can't like I don't understand. You can't go out to a store and and get them on DVD or whatever. I don't know what that's about or why. There's got to be a market there for somebody to put them up. But anyway, I watched them on YouTube just to make sure I knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the deal is that I really don't watch anything that I'm in because I know it's crap.
No.
Yeah. Kai said the same thing.
It seems like with a lot of actors, like I know, like actually, I mean,
I wouldn't want to watch something with my face in it. I wouldn't be a good actor. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah, I did watch, and the one episode that you guys were talking and said, yeah, I wasn't that crazy about the mutant being a two-parter, and when I watched it, I agreed with you because the first part was okay, but there wasn't enough gravitas, there wasn't enough suspense in it, there wasn't enough a little bit of scary stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that being said, the other ones, when you see the other episodes, it doesn't really match it as far as scaring kids. This was more of a joyful comic book sort of cartoonish sort of thing.
Yeah, and again, it's not to say that like there aren't good qualities, but especially when you're a kid, I mean, you want to see like the scary stuff. You want to see the monsters. You want to see the cool, like really cool stuff come out. So when you just have an episode, I mean, it works for I'll say this: it works for an adult horror movie to have slower build scenes, but when you're a kid, you're just like, this is boring. Change the channel, you know. So sometimes you got to get to the point a little bit. But that's why the second part's good, because it's better because it gets to what you want to see. You want to see the Masked Mutant, you want to see the Galloping Gazelle, and you want to see all the cool lights and the big flickering. Like, I remember that episode had like sparks, just like randomly, like random sparks, just like pew pew.
Yeah, exactly.
I've said this many times on the podcast that the stars of Goosebumps are the monsters. They are the stars. They're the reason why you will watch it, you know? And, that's why like the second part was definitely a lot better and more enjoyable. Yeah, 100%.
Yep. But, I mean, just rewatching all these episodes is always a treat. And like I said, stuff like Haunted Mask and Welcome to Dead House are great to watch around Halloween time, because they really get you in that nice spooky like feeling. You just want to watch a spooky movie around the fall time, because it's just that time of year where you just want to watch a good old fashioned horror movie.
I watch it year round, but
that too.
that's like my life. So.
Only year round. Gee, I'm watching it every bloody day.
I'm watching it right now. It's right there on the TV right behind me. Oh wait, my TV's right there.
Yeah, honestly, like sometimes I'll just be doing stuff around the house and I'll put Goosebumps on. You know, it's like comfort, because Goosebumps for me has always been comforting. You know, since I was a little kid. So, you know, I'll watch every episode, even the ones that aren't great. You know, they may be the ones that I might walk away and start doing other things, and then the Haunted Mask 2's on. I better run back and go watch that. You know, like it's one of those things. Because in Australia, I think we're the only country, and the UK, I believe, and Germany, that did like a box set of the TV series. So if you want a box set of the TV series, I could definitely get you one if you want it like on DVD. Because I think we are the only place that actually did like a full box set.
Yeah, the US and Canada like really got kind of screwed when it came to DVDs and box sets and stuff like that. They haven't really. There's even some episodes that have never been released on DVD or video, which is shocking, really. But we've talked about it before on the podcast.
I own the whole show.
For them to do full Blu-ray release of the show. I mean, we mentioned it in prior podcasts, but you know, the more reach we try to get into the Goosebumps community and to some of these people of influence, we're really pushing for that. Hopefully by next year, because next year is the 30th anniversary for the show.
Right on.
We're hoping they do something for it next year. So we're really advocating for that.
There has to be a market for it.
Oh yeah, there's a huge community for Goosebumps.
There's a whole community.
It's had a huge resurgence the last probably 5-6 years, just based on the market and the Disney Plus show now and things like that. So there's definitely a market out there that they just haven't utilized yet for some reason.
Yeah.
Yep.
Alan was talking about there should be a documentary on Goosebumps. Like I personally think there should be like some kind of a proper documentary, you know, like they did one. I know, well, obviously Harry Potter is a huge deal, but they did that Harry Potter one, the Hogwarts one. But I feel like Goosebumps deserves something like that, you know, like an actual thing, and you could get a bunch of you guys that were in the show to talk about it, and you know, maybe even some of the people at Scholastic. You know, that would be just such an awesome idea.
I mean, it used to be such a big franchise. It was a big franchise, and for some reason, it just doesn't have a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, and it always stinks when a show doesn't have like behind-the-scenes like stuff that went on. It just kind of seems like a lost bygone era, and that should never be the case for any show. They should always have that fun stuff in between to even show you how things got made. Like, you know, it's that little stuff. It's the stuff that most people would probably be like, well, why do you want to watch that? It's like, because it's interesting. I mean, a lot of people spent hours, days, weeks, months working on this kind of stuff, and that work should be documented. I personally think so.
Absolutely. Just to show you how back in the day they got the special effects to do what they do. You know, because it's such a different deal now with CGI and, you know, AI and everything. So, those are great ideas, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really hoping that can come about. But I think it was Kai who said that they didn't really have anybody on set for at least his episode to document any of that stuff because everything was done so quickly. And
Bang, bang.
Like you said earlier, it was time is money. So they really couldn't probably afford another person just to come on set to document stuff and take pictures and film things and all that because of just the time. So it's
I think
unfortunate
you said
that
one
that
day.
might be lost. You know, it might be down to the photo that your wife was nice enough to show us of, you know, the Polaroid photo from Deadhouse. I mean, that literally might be how a behind the scenes might be done is through photo than anything behind the scenes film wise.
Definitely. If somebody could scout out and try to find out where Ron is, he's got he's the guy. He's got all the whole deal.
Yep. We actually recently, I believe Nick is the one that shared it with us. There was a Facebook post that had pictures from Ron's former studio, I think, where all the Goosebumps prosthetics he had were sitting, and a lot of them, unfortunately, are deteriorating with age. But the Masked Mutant cowl still seems to be standing strong for right now. So, yep, standing strong.
Yes.
We'll get him back to Comic-Con.
Yes. We'll get him back. There's hope yet for the mutant.
Whoa, that would be amazing. Just dress up as the Masked Mutant and walk around Comic-Con.
Oh my God.
I've actually seen,
That'd be so cool.
I saw a group actually go to, I couldn't tell you which Comic-Con it was specifically, but I think it was around the time the first or the second movie came out. There was actually a group of cosplayers that were walking around as the Goosebumps monsters, and there was a good 10 of them, and they were taking group photos, and they were all holding the book that they're from just to let people know this is who I am, you know. And it was a big group, and I remember seeing that and thinking, man, that is amazing. We need more of that. You know?
No,
yeah,
I mean,
actually, I know the photo you're talking about. I think that was from the first Goosebumps movie, and I go to 3 or 4 conventions a year, and I talk to these people all the time. You know, I was like, you know, I can't believe there's not any Goosebumps actors doing convention circuits. You know what I mean? It's with the exception of Hayden Christensen, who did Night of the Living Dummy 3. Obviously went on to do Star Wars, but
he's doing Star Wars stuff now.
Star Wars, so it's but there's no actors out there from Goosebumps, and believe it or not, there is actually a want for that. I've brought to at least a couple of the convention heads, Days of the Dead and Horror Hound. I'm like, you know, have you thought about getting any of the Goosebumps actors? They have said that you know, there's more of an interest in you know, obviously movie actors than TV actors, so they don't really think about it too much. But I don't think that's the case, because I see nowadays more people clamoring for, especially Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark actors, because they're just so nostalgic now. They've actually gotten to that nostalgic stage.
Sure.
So there's more people wanting that. And I think it was really interesting when I heard Kai say that he did go to a con and he had people lined up, but it wasn't just people my age, it was their children because they got them into it, and so on and so forth. So now there's generational there. So he was actually pretty surprised that someone wanted to talk to him about Goosebumps, and he actually said he had a pretty good turnout. So hopefully, I mean, I would love to see, I'm going to see Tim Jacobus is doing cons now. He always gets a ton of people. So I imagine the actors from the show would do even better, if not the same as Tim Jacobus would.
In a second.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll sell pencils.
Hey, I'd buy 10. I'd buy 10 pencils.
Oh yeah.
No, that'd be awesome. Just do a big Goosebumps 90s show reunion with, I mean, God, imagine if you got Ryan Gosling there. Just imagine.
That would be insane if you got Ryan Gosling. I guess one of the final questions I sort of had, did you do any kind of press tour at all for Goosebumps? Did they have anything for that?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Zero.
Mm,
Zero.
Unfair.
And like I say, someone's missing the boat here because obviously, like with you guys, and there's a market there that's not being tapped. So let's get on it.
Let's get him.
Yeah,
I mean, hey, with all this 90s nostalgia, and especially a Goosebumps community waiting to strike, it's a good time.
Yeah. Let's go.
Hey.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's next year. And honestly, when I went to Wisconsin to meet R.L. Stein, like he had 2 events that day, and before I even got there, the 7-hour trip one way, I was already getting away from his event, and I was there 2 hours before it started. Like they already had too many people. They said you can go to the next one that's at a high school. Well, Isaiah and I were there at that one too, and that one was already packed and already had to turn people away. Like we got there way early though, so I mean we thankfully got into that one.
Yeah, if you weren't the first 200 people in line, you didn't get to meet R.L. Stein.
Wow.
I mean, it just shows you like how big that Goosebumps really is. That I guess they don't realize how big it is, but there is a huge following out there.
Oh, we got to band together. Yeah. We got to make them see. We do.
Like, you know, we can try and build this up before the 30th anniversary. Why not? I mean, we've been asking for the last, I reckon, since the first movie when they were going to do Funko Pops, and they finally revealed that we are getting at least one at this stage, but I feel like that might be some kind of a special edition. But we're finally going to be getting some Goosebumps Funko Pops. So I'm like, does this mean that finally something is happening, you know? I don't know. It's just one of those things, you know, with Goosebumps. Like we're trying to band together. Like I've been doing Goosebumps YouTubing for years, and all I do is just try to push and say, why aren't we getting this? Why isn't this happening? We need to like do something about it. So maybe this is the beginning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What I might do if it's interesting because like when I reach out to people like you, Scott, who are kind enough to come on to the podcast and talk about your time on Goosebumps, there's, like I said, an opening there. But since I'm talking to these people at conventions who head up these conventions, I might talk to them and see about doing like almost like a side convention portion there for Goosebumps. Like, because, like, for instance, Power Rangers got big enough to where they started doing their own convention out in California, like once a year. And I saw it's called Power Morphicon. I'm like, we could do something like that with Goosebumps. We could just have a Goosebumps Morphicon or whatever you want to call it.
Morphicon.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever. You know what I mean? I don't know what you call it as long as, you know, it's called Goosebumps related. So it doesn't have to just be the TV show, but it could be TV show, movies, books. I mean, it's 30 plus years of history there that's just not tapped.
Yeah.
So maybe something that we look into. And yeah, I would definitely love to get that started.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a market there. We just got to get them. We got to get them.
Let's fire it up.
Let's fire it up.
Well, I will say, like, we talked to Trick or Treat Studios. They said they had to do a pause from the show, from doing like items from the TV show, the '90s show, for one reason or another with Sony. But they are going to continue that later. So we're actually talking to them right now about possibly teaming up with them, and that would be really cool.
A Masked Mutant mask?
Exactly. I'm really hoping that like we can get a Masked Mutant mask, and if that's the case, I'll be sure to send you one for sure.
Right on, brother.
Well, and I guess this kind of answers my last question to close out the night. Is if you ever had the chance to don the cowl again, would you?
In a second.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you know, I think that's going to do it. That's a great way to close out tonight's episode. That's going to do it for tonight for the Goosebumps Crew podcast. Scott, seriously, thank you so incredibly much for joining us tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here to talk with us some Goosebumps and keep in touch. Absolutely, hopefully. We're always welcome.
And thank
always
you to your
welcome.
wife too for popping in. That was really
Yes,
cool.
Yeah,
thank
that
you.
was awesome.
Tell her
your
thank you
wife.
for us very much. That was a very good surprise. So thank you both for joining us tonight and talking some Goosebumps. We really appreciate it.
Hopefully, we'll see you down the road, boys.
Absolutely. And of course, as usual, follow all my Goosebumps cohorts on their YouTubes and social medias. Goosebumps Aussie fan Bjorn Panlik, Shawin, Nick Shaw, and the Ultimate Goosebumps man, Michael Hilliquist, on their social medias and YouTubes. They really deserve it. And of course, as usual, give us a sub over here at the Goosebumps channel if you want to keep up on future episodes of the Goosebumps Crew Podcast and other future Goosebumps videos. Next week, you guys are going to love what we have next week. We got the man, the myth, the legend, the voice of Slappy the Dummy himself, Cal Dodd, joining us to talk a little bit about the Night of the Living Dummy episodes. So excited, and especially to all you X-Men fans, you know him as Wolverine, you're also going to want to stick around because that's going to be a lot of fun. But until then, this has been the Goosebumps Crew Podcast, and from all of us here at the Goosebumps Crew Podcast, take care, stay safe, and have a scary day.